Imagine you've found your dream home, your kids have picked out their bedrooms, and it's in the neighborhood you have been dreaming of, but the home is expected to have multiple offers. Our current housing market in Arizona has a very high demand and low supply, so it's not uncommon to see multiple offers on one property. That's why it's more important than ever to have the very best realtor representation helping you navigate this market. A lot of people assume that the buyer with the highest bid wins the home, but that's not always the case. Terms can actually be more important than the offer price, so it's important for your agent to find out from the sellers what terms are important to them. In this market, it's extremely common to see sellers looking for a buyer who's willing to either waive their appraisal contingency or offer an appraisal shortfall. So what does this mean? The purchase contract for a home typically includes certain contingencies that must be satisfied for the transaction to be finalized and closed. These contingencies are intended to protect the buyer, and if a contingency has not been met, then the buyer can typically exit the contract and receive their deposit back. In some cases, a buyer may waive certain contingencies in order to make their offer more attractive to the seller, and it also increases their odds of getting the home. Most purchase agreements include 3 contingencies. Number 1, an appraisal contingency. This requires that the home meets the price you've agreed to pay when it's appraised. And number 2 is a financing contingency, saying that the closing depends on the approval of your loan. And number 3 is an inspection contingency, mandating that the property passes a home inspection. And these days, rising home prices have created a seller's market where sellers are more picky with buyers and contingencies can make a purchase offer less attractive. It's tempting to make a big offer to win a bidding war in today's hot real estate market, but it could go wrong. Let's say you're ready to move forward with an offer and you have everything you need to apply for a mortgage. That's amazing, but the loan amount all depends on the appraisal. Sellers know this, so even if you waive this contingency, odds are your lender will still need an appraiser to come out to the home. If you submitted an offer that winds up higher than the appraisal, there's a problem. You might not get your full loan amount financed. This is why an appraisal contingency is a vital part of the real estate contract, and when you're getting a mortgage loan, the appraisal is required as part of the mortgage process. This is ordered by the lender after your offer is accepted, and an appraiser is a licensed third party who has no connection to the buyer, seller, or lender. That way, all parties can be sure that the determined market value is fair, unbiased, and free of any influence from a party that could benefit. The buyer typically pays for the appraisal, and the appraiser is chosen at random. An appraisal is the estimated value of a home determined by an inspection of the property and its comparison to the recently sold homes in the area. Even though your realtor will be able to run a detailed analysis before you write your offer to get a good idea of what the property value is, it's difficult and almost impossible to determine exactly where the appraisal will come in at, because you could have 5 appraisers appraise the same home, and odds are they will all come back with a different value, because at the end of the day, it's their opinion. So why are appraisal contingency waivers so common right now? The home you're buying may have gone up significantly in value over the past 6 months. There may not be recent closings to support the value that you have agreed to pay, especially if you're offering over the list price, which is really common right now. In order to help your offer stand out, you may want to consider waiving your appraisal contingency or offering an appraisal shortfall. For example, let's say you offer to pay $500,000 for a home and you're putting 20% down, but the home appraises low for $480,000. If you waive your appraisal contingency, you're telling the seller you will pay $500,000 even if the home doesn't appraise for that price. In this case, at closing, you would need to bring in more cash. In this example, the lender would finance the appraised value of $480,000, so you'd be required to pay 20% down from that amount plus make up the $20,000 appraisal difference. Another option would be to move to a lower down payment. For example, you could choose to do 5 or 10% down so you have more cash to cover that difference, but this will affect your payment. The second option to help your offer stand out is an appraisal shortfall. This means that in the event that the home does not appraise for the purchase price, you would be willing to come in with a set dollar amount to make up for the difference. For example, you could choose to offer a $5,000 appraisal shortfall, which means that you would agree to come in with your down payment plus $5,000 in cash at closing to cover any potential appraisal shortfalls. If you decide to add one of these terms to your contract, it does put your earnest deposit at risk. If you waive your appraisal contingency and decide to cancel the contract, you could risk losing your deposit. I know all of this can sound very overwhelming, but top producing realtors and lenders can help walk you through this process. You also want to keep in mind, this isn't to say you're for sure going to have an appraisal issue. You could write a strong offer on a home, offer the appraisal shortfall, and not even have any appraisal issues. So if you are looking for a home in the Phoenix Southeast Valley, we'd love to help. Visit us online at GilletteGroupAZ.com. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Shannon_Gillette.